I did not record the date, day, or time of this event because I get tired and am usually taken by a very strong drowsiness. And then I already know that I'm going to the spiritual world, and I do not know when this experience happened to me. I remember that I was lying down and I felt myself leaving my body and saw myself leaving slightly. And I still waited a while and tried to leave by myself, but something held me back, and it seemed to me that the connection between the soul and the spirit had not yet been undone from my physical body. I was not disconnected from the flesh. When I felt free, I was transported to the dimension of the spirit after that. I went out the back of a house and walked along the side. I walked consciously and went to the front of the house and came out in a small area. Looking up, I saw vases suspended from the ceiling and held up by chains, and one of them had green grapes. I looked at the grapes and looked inside the house, but I could not see everything inside, because in the door there were small windows that allowed me to see the living room. And I tried to see if anyone was there, but no one appeared. When I mentioned returning to the same place where I had appeared with the intention of returning to my body, I was transported back to the flesh, and thus confirmed once again that I entered a dimension of the spirit with a different body. I remember that I felt very light and did not need to step firmly on the floor of the house where I had left. I thought that I should return to the same place where I had arrived, because I understood in my mind that I had to be in the same place to return to my physical body, and the Holy Spirit automatically transported me to my body. That day I felt like speaking to the heavens and to God to have more direct contact with the spiritual plane, and I felt that He was watching me. But I did not see anything or even hear anything from the Lord. Normally, I have these spiritual experiences without the appearance of angels or even the Holy Spirit, but I do not feel fear or worry, and I am still not sure why the Lord does not manifest Himself or even the angels to help me. Many years ago, I remember that when I was much younger than I am now that I am older, I would leave my body, and it would happen involuntarily. As soon as I left, I would see angels walking and going from one place to another. I would always see them busy and going to resolve something. I remember that once I left my body, and when I was climbing down some scaffolding that looked like it was a construction site, I saw an angel of the Lord dressed in white waiting for me and told me to come back. I remember that I didn't see anything else, and I automatically returned to my body, and I kept the image of the angel of the Lord in my mind. Years went by, and I haven't seen the angels of the Lord like I used to. I got older, and I kept leaving my body, and the angels never appeared. So I was lying down, and suddenly I came out and didn't realize when the demon took over. And we came out together in the dimension of the spirit, me and him, one inside the other. And when I walked in the spiritual plane, I realized that the demon was inside me, and suddenly I could only see someone in white coming from above with open wings, landing suddenly and kicking the demon's back. The interesting thing was that the angel of the Lord kicked the demon's back and didn't hit my body, and I saw him disappear, and the demon fell to the ground going forward. Whenever I come out, I don't see my body like many who are raptured report that they can see, and I don't see the return to the physical body. And that's when I understand that the Holy Spirit is working silently. I have no control, and I don't even know the time when I will come out with consciousness to testify from the spiritual world. It happens several times in the same day that I have to come out of the body, but when I don't come out, I rest and sleep peacefully. The real situation is, if I leave my body, I am still active and using my mind, but it gets tired and I become physically and spiritually exhausted. I remember that once I left my body and entered the dimension of the spirit and walked down a street. When I reached a certain point, I saw an angelic spirit rising up in ordinary clothes with wings and flying very high until it disappeared. I did not understand the reason for this vision and why I was not even able to talk to the spirit with wings, and I simply saw him rising up wearing ordinary clothes. The celestial being wore a blue and white checkered long-sleeved shirt and also wore jeans. I remember that I had arrived in the dimension of the spirit, and he was already high up and flying, and when I stopped to look, he was already rising high and disappeared. I felt a longing for the heavens and wondered later if I could go up there to see the other angels of the Lord who live in the heights with the Almighty. It could be that this celestial being was a demon, and if it was a demon, thank goodness he didn't see me, and if it was an angel of God, in the same way he didn't see me and continued on high. On that day I didn't say anything, and I didn't see any demons or even fight with anyone. I could only see this celestial being ascend and simply return to the physical plane, and I didn't record this for a long time. Since I didn't record this event as soon as I returned, I can't remember how I was before I was taken away, because I have no memories to justify the reason for this vision. The dimension of the spirit is normal and is exactly the same as the physical world, because we see streets, houses that are not inhabited, and even some that are inhabited by demons, which are known as fallen angels, who live in houses that have no living people. In some cases, the demons stay in, or they just enter, and then leave the houses of those who are alive to listen to conversations and be able to work on people's dreams and visions when they are sleeping. When I talked to some demons through my mind, they said that they don't usually enter the houses of living humans, but rather, they live in the houses of those who have already died, because they now have doors, while the houses of the living have no doors. When they told me this, I thought it could be the other way around. And even after learning this, other demons said that they enter the houses of those who are alive to torment, and if possible, try to kill. To confirm this, when I talked to 8 demons, I knew that there were 8 of them, because they told me that there were 8 of them, and they talked to me for several days, and I realized that they were entering the house where I live. When they entered, it was in the spiritual house, and they claim that the house disappears, and they stay in the same place to return to my house. They stay in the same place because the dimension is constantly changing and moving, and they have to decide to return to my house because I can't hide my thoughts from them. Because of my thoughts that speak openly to the spiritual plane, they learn my name, and that's why they stayed and came back saying the following: "Go back to Dilton's house." Otherwise, they would go somewhere else because they don't stay in the same place unless they want to. And then they use the spiritual house that is there in the spiritual plane where they stay. Our house has stairs, and they go up to the one in the spiritual dimension. And when I talked to them, they said there are stairs. And then I started getting a lot of information by talking to them through my mind. I remember that right at the beginning, they talked to me normally and thought I was a demon. Because one day I asked something that I didn't know about the spiritual world, and they asked who I was, and they found out that I wasn't a demon, but a human.